Instruction which the most holy Queen gave me. My dearest daughter, great were the favors which the hand of the Most High showered upon me in the visions of the divinity, vouchsafed me during the 9 days before his conception in my womb. And although he did not manifest himself intuitively and altogether unveiled, yet he did it in an exalted manner, and with such effects as are reserved to his wisdom. In the remembrance of what I perceived in this vision, I rose to the true perception of the position which God held in comparison to men, and men in comparison to God. My heart was inflamed with love and was torn with sorrow, for I realized the immensity of his love towards mortals, and their most ungrateful oblivion of his incomprehensible goodness. Many times would I have died at the thought of these extremes if God himself had not comforted and preserved me. This sacrifice of his servant was most pleasing to his majesty, and he accepted it with greater complacency than all the holocausts of the old law, for he beheld my humility and delighted in it very much. Whenever I performed these exercises, he showed great mercy to me and to my people. These sacraments, my dearest, I manifest to thee in order to encourage thee to imitate me, as far as is possible, will thy weak forces, aided by grace. Look upon the works which thou hast learnt of as a pattern and example to be closely followed. Meditate much, and weigh over and over again, as well in the light of grace as in that of reason, how exactly mortals ought to correspond to this immense kindness of God and to his eagerness to assist them. Compare at the same time the heartless obduracy of the children of Adam. I wish that thy heart be softened in affectionate thankfulness toward the Lord, and melted in sorrow at these unhappy proceedings of men. I assure thee, my daughter, that on the day of the general adjustment, the cause of the greatest wrath of the just judge shall be man's most ungrateful forgetfulness of this truth. And the confusion of men on account of this wrath shall be such that on that day they would, of their own accord, cast themselves into the abyss of pain if there were no ministers of divine justice to visit this retribution upon them. In order to avoid such an abominable fault, and in order to forestall such a horrible chastisement, renew in thyself the memory of the blessings which thou hast received at the hands of his love and infinite clemency, and remember that God has distinguished thee in preference to the souls of many generations. Do not make the mistake of considering these great favors and special gifts as conferred on thee for thyself alone. They were conferred also for the sake of thy brethren, for the divine mercy is extended to all men. Therefore, the return which thou owest to the Lord must be made first for thyself and then for thy brethren. And because thou art poor, offer up the life and merits of my most holy Son, and with them all that I have suffered by the forces of my love. Thus wilt thou make thyself pleasing to God, and tender some recompense for the ingratitude of mortals. In all these things exercise thyself repeatedly many times, remembering in the meanwhile what I thought and felt in similar acts and exercises.